Alrighty, good morning, folks. I'm here with the amazing Denise DeShetler, coming at you from the San Francisco Bay Area. And so thanks again for joining, Denise. I appreciate you taking the time. And what I'd like to do today is answer a question from a viewer who actually purchased the Healthcare Ultrapreneur Project course, online course. And she really loved the course. She did have a question, and so I thought, it would be a great idea to get Denise in, and we can give this viewer our 2 cents and go from there. So thanks again, Denise, for joining. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good morning. Happy to be here.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. I've got my coffee, so.
So do I. Well, actually, I don't drink coffee. I have tea.
Okay, okay. Full disclosure, I like that. Okay, so let me just read the email, and she had some great things to say, which is awesome. We really love to hear your feedback for everyone who purchases the course. We really love to hear what you have to say. So she had some great things to say, and then at the end, she did say, "I do have a question for you guys. I live in Los Angeles, and we have tons of startups here too. I found a couple that I'd like to approach. Do you have any suggestions on how to pitch them?" And then that was it. So great question, and I think this question, and I believe she's a body worker, but the answer can apply to anyone, a chiropractor, Pilates instructor, yoga instructor, who's looking to kind of break into a new pool of potential clients. So the answer can apply to anyone really, but I believe in this case she is a body worker and wants to break into a lot of startups that are in her area. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be startups; it can be any other types of businesses. So Denise, without further ado, I would love to hear what you have to say about that, because I know you actually have worked with many startups, right?
Yeah, a handful.
Right, right. Hopefully you got some stock options in exchange for the work. Who knows? I don't know. Haven't seen you drive the Lamborghini yet,
No,
but
no, I
maybe.
just keep that in the garage.
Okay, good, good, good. No one's offered me a ride, but okay.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, what do you have to say about that? How to break into the startup world?
Okay. Well, first off, I didn't get any stock options. A lot of times I was a contractor, but you never know. Sometimes in the future, these things could turn into an actual employment status. But I would say if you're trying to go for a company, specifically a startup, I think it's great because a startup, you're probably going in the ground up. So you can approach, depending on the size of the startup, sometimes even HR, maybe they won't have one yet at that
Right,
time.
right,
So if there's just, a handful of people trying to start up whatever they're starting up, that's a good time to go in and speak with them because they're going to be creating whatever the product or service is and then also have to grow the community of the infrastructure around that. And so approaching them at that time is a good time to do that because you can actually present to them, if you're a body worker, of course, that's my experience with dealing with it, but I've also seen acupuncturists, yoga instructors. Um, yeah, you have definitely even Pilates instructors. So it just depends on what you are bringing to the table. But all of this is coming from the world of health. And as we know, what wonders that does to a person. And so you can present it to the company as, okay, you're building a business. And, with your staff, they're probably going to be working long hours. And, promoting the work that you do can help one, their health, two, productivity, because they will feel better, and also morale. If people feel that they're being supported in this company, they're going to want to stick there. They're going to keep working for them. So those are different approaches you can take of just, you can even, if you want, you can have some specific research and data that will support that if they want to see that. But just, promoting all the bonuses of what it could do. Also convenience. So if you're going to approach them, that means you're going into their company, their facility. So that means the staff doesn't have to leave or they don't have to take so much time off to get this service. So you can approach them that way. Like I said, if you want to do your due diligence and look for specific data, there's tons out there to show you that. Because we all know, but maybe, the people that you're approaching are not familiar of how well, having a service like this could benefit a company.
Right,
Um,
right,
yeah. Another thing is, there's many ways to go about it. So depending on if you have a small space, if you're a body worker, you could provide chair work. So you can bring in something that's just not, people can still be fully clothed, and it can be more of an open space. It's not as private, just so they can get some relief. So that's just like, depending on the space. If their facility has a larger space, maybe there's a private room, then of course you can actually use a table. Same thing, I've seen acupuncturists come in and they also can do kind of community needling where they're doing the ear needling and all of that. So
mm,
again, it's not my expertise being an acupuncturist, but I do know that I've worked with other colleagues that do that work in a community setting. So they'll
right,
have maybe 4 or 5 people at the same time. So there's just variations. So depending on your skill set and your service, you think about ways that you can adapt to a place and then help them grow. Another approach is, of course, the ideal situation would be that they would pay you, the company would pay you on a regular basis.
mm,
Usually it's for your time, and then how many people you can fit in your time would be great.
right,
But, if they are unable to do that right now, they can't budget that, then you can also offer, well, maybe the staff want to pay me individually. So
mm,
you're there and, anybody can sign up at that time and then you set the rate for that. So, and maybe
right,
as you keep working and then they're seeing the benefits of it, they're like, oh, now we want to invest in this service and we're going to put that in our budget. So,
right, right. Those are all fantastic benefits that we can, you mentioned some great benefits that you can bring forward and mention to HR staff or whoever is wearing the HR human resources hat at that moment. And you mentioned something also very important that depending on the level of the startup, there could be someone who is wearing many hats and is doing a lot of things. And sometimes something like this, where you approach them and give them the benefits of the services that you offer, could actually make their job easier. So telling them or letting them know that, hey, what I have to offer here can actually make your job easier in the sense of people feel better working there. People have there's better morale. All of these things that can benefit the company as a whole. So mentioning the benefits of your work is hugely important.
yes, yes, that's definitely what you want to lead with. I mean, we all know what the benefits are, endless, but we need to be able to, articulate that to the person that could think, oh, okay, would this actually benefit my company?
Right, right. Now, how about like getting your foot in the door? Um, just starting off, how do you get a hold of this person who makes the decision to hire you? I've thought about that, and I've thought about in our both of our experiences, how did we get that job? How did we get that gig?
Yeah.
And I have to kind of work backwards. Who did I meet? Where did I go? Who did I email? Just recently, I just taught a workshop, and someone asked me, how did I get to teach in Switzerland? And, I've been teaching there for about 6 years, not sure now. And so I had to think about it, like, oh, how actually did that happen? So, how did you get before I tell my story, how did you get involved with working the startups? Was it through a networking group? Was it like through a colleague, friend of a friend? Or did you cold call? Did you just kind of look up the companies on the internet, find who may have been the HR manager, and sent them an email?
Okay.
Yeah.
My experience is, I had a colleague and friend that had an opening and he approached a company, kind of a startup that way. And so as the company was growing, he was the first one, and then he was adding other people. So meaning the company was like, oh wow, this is a great service, and so we need to bring in more practitioners. And so I came on board that way. And that happened actually a couple times. It was who I knew, and just knowing that I was open to those opportunities. That being said, I did approach, there are other things besides startups where there are something similar to WeWork, where you do a shared space, but everyone's in different companies. And from my experience, because I've gone to those, they have some breakfast meetings, they have some lunch events, because they try to build in that community. They want it to feel like a community, even though everyone's kind of like a 1 or 2 person company. And so they want to bring in community resources. And so that was a great opportunity. And I jumped on that to go in and just present, talk about what I do and present that. And if they had the space or the time, I'd come in maybe once a week or once a month and provide service that way. So not just startups, but there are other ways that there's other community. I'm using the example as WeWork, but there are actually many of them now. Companies.
So you exposed yourself into this, to this kind of work community.
Yes.
So let's say someone like the person who saw the person who signed up for HUP and purchased the course wants to get in on startup XYZ. Mm-hmm. So what would you recommend, if that person wanted to actually work at a specific company, how would she get her foot in the door? What would you say?
Well, I would look up the company. I mean, if they don't know somebody that works there, then I would contact the company directly.
Right. Yeah. And that goes to answering the question that I was asked just a few days ago when someone said, how did you get to Switzerland? And I had to actually think about it. It was a cold email. It was a cold email, and I told this person for every 10 cold emails that I got, I had one response, and you just never know. And in that particular case, I emailed the owner of the school, and I got a response within hours, because the owner of the school said, hey, I'm actually going to be in the Bay Area in a couple of weeks, and I took a look at I sent my resume, sent my information, sent all of my, everything. If you have Yelp reviews, send a link to your Yelp reviews, all of that. And he said, I'm going to be in the Bay Area in a couple of weeks, let's meet up. And that was the start. And the other time where I got to work in Taiwan, it's because of someone I knew, but also because of my credentials, and I happened to have finished a book at that point, and I sent them a copy of the book because it was me and someone else who was up for the job. So, but a lot of it was kind of cold email, So that's what I wanted to get at. Get to find, look the person up and contact them. And I would say, because of the nature of our work, where it's such a personal work, I would say try to get a meeting, lunch meeting, something casual, nothing too formal in the beginning, coffee meeting, so that they can get to meet you and they can, realize how awesome of a person you are, and say, yeah, I would love to have this person in, and do, do their service here with our staff. So, cold emails, I know it takes a lot of work. Like I said, for every 10, I may have one person who responds, but it's still, there's still a response. You still get, some opportunities from it. So cold email, and like you said, mentioning the benefits of what you have to offer, very key things. That's something very key to have in your back pocket or front pocket when you're meeting with the HR manager. One thing that I thought of Another thing you said, Denise, and I thought of it as well, is connecting through people that you know. And I know that you worked for a company. I won't mention the name, just because, but a company that is related to gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the company's related to gaming, video games, and you got in there because of someone else who was already kind of in there working for them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that person that got in there, I wonder, I don't know the story of that first person, how they got in there. I don't know if it's because they're into video games or if they knew someone else. But knowing people, networking, and letting people know just that you're open to an opportunity, opportunities come out of that.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I think when you're in this field and you need to approach people. So you need to let people know what you're looking for. You never know what kind of tips you're going to get. I got into that last company because of a colleague. And that person, I believe it was either their current client, patient, or they knew someone. They actually weren't into gaming.
I see.
And then just got the foot in the door that way because of asking. And emails, I think it's great to have that cold email, all of that data ready to go.
Right.
I'm totally old school. I can physically go to the place. If I have time, I will physically go to the place or make a phone call because
Thank you. Thank you for that.
ask. You just have to ask.
Yes, yes. I mean, thank you for saying that because I am kind of old school myself as well, and I think it's so important, especially in the nature of the business that we're in, for people to actually get to meet us right away. Mm-hmm. Almost the sooner the better, so they get to see what we're about, how we relate, as opposed to drawing something out in a whole chain of emails. So yeah, I mean, if there's somewhere that you really, really want to work, show up.
Yeah.
Show up. Try to make an appointment, or show up maybe on your lunch break and just kind of start to kind of plant the seeds of you. The awesomeness of you, and then hopefully you can get, like I said, a coffee meeting. Sometimes people don't have a full hour to talk to you, but they usually go get a coffee, 3-4 p.m., something like that. So try to get your foot in the door that way. If there's a specific company that you want to work at. You did mention, Denise, that the person who got you into the door of that company, they were not a gamer, but if they were, then that also brings up another interesting way to get a gig, as I call it, and that is, kind of find your passions, find the things that you're passionate about in addition to what you do, and see how you can network that way. Are you into gaming? Well, find a community and see if you can find, I'm sure in that community there's a CEO of ABC startup that you can talk to and offer up your services to. So whatever it is that you're passionate about, there is a way to network or create further network that way.
Oh, definitely. I definitely want to chime in on that with Marty. That is a great point because, besides the work that we do, I'm sure many of us have other hobbies and we could be doing these activities or whatnot with people. And you never know what your friends are coming up with and how you could be a benefit to them and this future company. So it's just being open, being present and putting your attention out there. And you just never know where the resources are, where the connections will be.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. Being open, saying, I know it's kind of maybe almost cliche now, but saying yes, and seeing what comes out of it. Maybe there's some risk involved. Sometimes it's scary, but you just never know what's going to happen. You might end up with a wonderful working relationship. You might end up with an amazing opportunity that would not have been even in your scope before. So yes, thank you for that, Denise.
You're welcome. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a great topic, and I love that there's just, for us being in the field for so long, kind of running our own show, it's very fascinating all the different angles that we can approach something. So it really just comes down to what interests you, where do you think your services will most benefit a community or a company, and go for it. Try it.
Right, right. Well, thanks again, Denise, for taking the time to help this viewer out and to speak with me. It's always great to hear your insights, your feedback, and thanks again. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and we hope to see you again in the Healthcare Ultrapreneur project.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Marty.